I'll be sharing a document with you now that contains the topic that we want to discuss today. So get yourself ready. Let me share the screen with you right away. What we have to discuss today is Lexis and structure. Lexis and structure. What do I call it?
Lexis and Stuctures.
Okay, so um, get going now. So talking about Lexis and structure, have you had something like that before? Lexis and structure.
No,
Okay. There are these aspects of your English studies that whenever you're answering question in exam, see some aspect they will say fill in the gaps with best suitable answer. Have you seen something like that before?
yes.
Okay, so and that is what is called Lexis and structure in terms of examination. But what really is Lexis and structure? We're going to look at in details. So Lexis and structure. Yeah, Lexis refers to the total words and phrases of a language. You know, there are several languages, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we are speaking English right now. We could speak Igbo language. We could speak Hausa. We could speak any other language like Yoruba or Greek or anything. So all the words of that language that are combined together to make the language one, to make it complete. All those words, total phrases that we use that are part of that language are referred to as lexis. Lexis originates from the Greek term lexis, which means a word or a speech, what to say. So it's often confused with what they call lexicon, which is a dictionary or the vocabulary of a language or profession or, like registers and so on, or people or a subject. So lexis is also called vocabulary, and lexis includes simple vocabulary as boy, pile up, crown, virus, shut up, etc., and so on. Here we're talking about lexis and structure. So we say lexis refers to total words, phrases of a language. What about structure? Then this is the meaningful arrangement of the words, the phrases, and clauses that a language contains, meaningful arrangement to make sentences, and that is what structure is all about. So there will be lexis and structures in questions and answers that I'm going to discuss with you later on. So here now, the study of lexis and lexicon or lexical items, which is collection of phrases or words in a language, is called lexicology. So when you study lexis and structure, it's called lexicology, and this is crucial to grammar. In fact, in grammar, the distinction between syntax and morphology is lexically based. For you to be able to know your syntax and your morphology, you have to understand what lexis and structure is all about. So the first thing we're going to be looking at under the elements of lexis and structure is semantics. Semantics, yes. So semantics is the study of the relationship between words, signs, and sentence structures. Word, sign, and sentence structure, and how we draw meaning from those words. We could use a sign like a question mark. We use some words, and we could make use of some sentence structures, and we have to look at what those things actually mean. So it is used figuratively and literally to produce meaning. Semantics can be used figuratively, like in figure of speech, or it can be used literally to produce meaning. Semantics seeks to describe how words are used. So the description of how words are used is what semantics is all about, and not to suggest how they should be used. It will describe how it is being used. It will describe how it is being used. And not to suggest, okay, and even what decisions we make as a result of our interpretation. Example include, let's look at this example. He became one of those whose record received whose record he received in the right hand and far from left. Okay, another example is his mother had a nicer smell than his father. Now look at the two sentences. The first sentence conveys a denotative meaning that he is fortunate and not unfortunate. He said he became one of those whose record he received in the right hand and far from left. He's not talking about the right hand and left hand this time around. He's talking about the person being a fortunate person and not unfortunate person. And look at the second sentence. Second sentence conveying a denotative or general meaning that the person likes his mother than his father. He's not talking about body odor. When he said his mother had a nicer smell, smell is about odor, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when he says his father had a nicer smell, then that means he's interested in working with his father, or he likes his mother than his father. So that is what semantics is all about. How it describes how words are being used, whether literally or figuratively. Okay, the next thing we're looking at is diction. Diction to affect, this talks about how you pronounce your words. Diction simply means the appropriate use of words. Diction can be defined as a style of speaking or a style of writing, style of speaking or style of writing. So determined by the choice of words, choice of word by a speaker or a writer, which depends on how accurate or how appropriate the word is to the context. For example, if you see something that surprising, that amazing, and you can use the word that, oh, this is amazing, not this is fantastic. To know the accurate word, the appropriate word to use to a particular context is what diction is all about, and even to know how to pronounce. Depending on the topic at hand, people adjust their diction. Diction involves speaking formally in formal settings or using slangs where appropriate. So it's part of diction. Now we have types of diction. We have formal diction, which is formal word choice in formal situations such as international conference meetings and so on. Then we have informal diction, which is informal word choice in talking to friends. When you're speaking to your friend, it's different from when you're speaking to your teacher or to the governor of your state or the president. Then we have colloquial diction. Colloquial diction is the word choice for common daily use. Common daily use. Then we have slang diction, and this is the word choice newly coined from the street or from the music, something that is reigning in the environment. These are slang diction. It may even be impolite depending on what or where it is being used. Example of dictions in literature. Okay, this is an example. Happy bulbs that cannot shed your leaf. That cannot shed your leaf, nor ever bid the spring adieu. Now, adieu is better in formal settings than goodbye. Adieu and goodbye means the same thing, but you use adieu when you are saying goodbye forever to somebody who is dead that you're not going to see again. But you use goodbye also for such a kind of situation. But goodbye is often used also people that you're going to see probably in the next hour or in the next minute or in the next day. So the next thing apart from diction is synonymy. What do I call it? Synonymy. What do I call it? Are you hearing me?
Sir?
Can you hear me? Yes. Can
Yes,
you hear
sir.
me? Yes. Synonymy
Yes,
is
sir.
the next one. I said, what did I call the next word? Synonymy.
Synonym.
Yes. A synonym. A synonym is a word with the same meaning as another in a language. For example, the words begin, the words start, commence, all of them are synonyms. A synonym can be a phrase or even a morpheme. And the next part of lesson structure that we're talking about here is antonymy. A word opposite in meaning. Yes, antonymy. A word opposite in meaning to another. E.g., bright and dark. opposite words. The opposite words. Okay. The next thing we will look at here now is polysemy. Yes, polysemy. Polysemy here is the capacity for a particular word, capacity for a particular word or phrase to have multiple meanings. Are you listening? When a particular word or phrase have multiple meanings, this is called polysemy. That's the capacity of the word. For example, the verb take is an example of polysemy because you have a lot of meaning. It could mean eat, it could mean receive, it could mean acquire, it could mean apprehend. Are you getting that?
Yes, sir.
So to take something, maybe to eat it, or to receive something means to receive it, to take, to acquire, or to pick up something. So that is what. So when a word have multiple meanings, yeah, like the word start can also mean commence, can also mean begin. Are you getting that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that is polysemy. Now we're talking about homophones. Homophone is a word that is pronounced similarly to another word, but differs in meaning to the word. They don't have the same meaning this time around, or they sound the same way. That is why they are called homophones. The two words may be spelled the same way, or they may be spelled differently, such as rose and rose. Rose of a plant and rose of past tense of rise. Are you getting that?
Right.
Yes. Then
Yes,
bark, bark when a dog is barking, and the bark of a tree.
of
You
a
know,
tree.
yes. So they could be spelled the same way, or they could be spelled differently, like two and two, like allowed and allowed. So allowed and allowed are pronounced the same way, but they are spelled differently. Two and two are pronounced the same way, but they are spelled differently. But back and back pronounced the same way and spelled the same way. Rose and rose also pronounced the same way and spelled the same way. So the next thing we'll look at here, we'll talk about collocation. Collocation. Collocation simply means a group of words that often goes together, you know, that are likely to occur together. Group of words like crime fighters, early risers. These are examples of collocation. Maybe school driver or school bus. Words,
Newspaper.
yes, newspaper words that go together. So that those are collocation. Okay, now we are talking about lexical items. There are 8 lexical items. That's all. Those are part of speech. Talking about. Generally, we say part of speech. So, but they are called lexical items. So we have a noun. Noun is a word that is used to name somebody. A word different from a pronoun used to identify any class of people, a place, things, or to name a particular one of these. Examples are like table, chair, countryside, banana, music, love, English, joke, Isla, venue, woman, teacher, Mary, home, office, town, and so on. So these are words. These are words that are used to, name a particular situation or name a particular place or name a particular thing. So these are called nouns. Then the next one we talk about is pronoun. A pronoun is used to replace a noun. In a sentence. A word that can function as a noun phrase used by itself and refers either to a first person or a second person or a third person is a pronoun. Something mentioned elsewhere in the discourse like she, it, and this. So examples include them, we, us, you, none, several, himself, yourself, which, another. And the next thing we talk about there is the verb. Verb. Yes, a word used to convey an action, to mean an action, to mean an occurrence, or a state of being is a verb. So what people can do is a verb. And you always identify a verb by saying that a verb, by knowing that a verb must have past tense. Must have what?
Past tense.
Very good. So run, hatch, win, race, do, go, sleep, grind, sell, read, and so on. All these have past tense and they are all verbs or verbs. Okay, we'll talk about adjective now. Adjective is a word describing an attribute of a noun. So take note of that. Adjective is always working with a noun. It's always working with a noun. Without a noun, there cannot be an adjective. Take note of that. A word describing attribute of noun, such as sweet, red, technical, intelligent, funny, and so on. So examples also include red, weak, happy, and obnoxious, and sleeveless, short, fine, harsh, thin, and so on. Then the next thing to look at there is adverb. Adverb. This is a word or phrase that express a relation of time or degree, place, manner, and so on by modifying an adjective or modifying a verb or modifying other adverb or a group of words, the word group. So we're saying that before we can use adverb to modify an adjective. You can use adverb to modify a verb. You can use adverb to modify another adverb. So take note of that. For adjective, it only modifies noun, and that's its job. But for adverb, it modifies adjective, modify verb, and modify adverb also. So examples include simultaneously, terribly, beautifully, vividly, then, there, when. So these are examples of examples of adverb. Now, the next one we'll talk about is interjection. Interjection, a word or expression that is used in itself as an utterance and express an abrupt remark, especially as an aside or interruption. Ha, congrats, hala, cheers, hooray, wow. These are interjections. And the next one we'll talk about is preposition. Preposition. In the word preposition, you can see position there. You can see position. So it's showing position between two words, or a word that precedes a noun or pronoun and expressing relation to another word or element in the clause. In other words, we can say it's a word that shows relationship between a noun and a pronoun, or two nouns or two pronouns. For example, if I say, he is in the room. Now, I have mentioned the pronoun and I have mentioned the noun, which is the he is the pronoun and the room is the noun. So the relationship between the he and the room is the in, which is in. He is in the room. But if I say he is outside the room, if I say he is outside the room, are you concentrating, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes. If I say he is outside the room, outside is the one that is showing the relationship between the he, which is the pronoun, and the room, which is the noun. So examples also include the at, for, in, of, on, over, beside, after. So the last one we'll talk about there is conjunction. Conjunction. This is a part of a speech that link words or phrases or clauses together. It links words, links phrases, links clauses together. So examples include but, although, and, yet, or, nor, since, unless, while, and so on. So there are lots of them that we have to look at. Now, we've looked at the Lexis aspect of the Lexis and structure. Now, I'm talking about structure now. In English grammar, the structure is referred to as the organized rules of a language that make a combination of its lexical item in a sentence meaningful in that language.